Welcome back viewers. Hope you all are doing absolutely fine. So in the previous video I discussed that how digestion of food is occurring by mechanical and biochemical processes. Now we had seen till that how the complex food get converted into its most absorbable form by seeing the various reactions. The links are in the description box. You can watch it from there. Now we are going to see about absorption. Now that converted absorbable form is to be absorbed by the body to perform its various activity. So how it is done, we will see it in this particular video. So stay tuned. Now absorption of digested products. Absorption is the process by which the end product of digestion pass through the intestinal mucus to the blood or lymph. It is carried out by passive, active, facilitated transport mechanism. A small amount of monosaccharides like glucose, amino acids, and some electrolytes like chloride ions are generally absorbed by simple diffusion. Now we are going to see that how absorption is going to take place, and there are several transportation mechanism. Like there is a one method which is known as passive and another one is active. So these are the two methods by which the absorption in the body of absorbable food is going to occur, and it is to be transported in bloods and vessels through the blood streams. Now in case of passive transport, we will see the passage of these substances into blood depends upon the concentration gradient. Now the passage of food is dependent upon the concentration gradient. However, some substances like glucose and amino acids are absorbed with the help of carrier protein. This mechanism is called the facilitated transport. So basically in case of passive transport, what is happening that they are going down the concentration gradient, that is from higher concentration to the lower concentration until and unless it makes a constant gradient balance. So it is going to be passed from down the concentration gradient in case of passive transportation. Now in case of passive transportation, there are several types of transportation that is going to occur. Like one of the method is simple diffusion. Now in case of simple diffusion, there is no requirement of energy along the blood. This concentration gradient is going to flow, and we are going to see here that mainly glucose, amino acids, and some electrolytes like chloride ions are absorbed by simple diffusion. So they do not acquire any energy, and simple diffusion is a very slow process, and small amount of monosaccharides they are going to absorb. Next we are seeing here that the passage of these substances to blood depends upon the concentration gradient. However, some substances like glucose and amino with the help of carrier proteins. Now carrier proteins are facilitating the movement of several glucose or other substances like fructose, which is a glucose substance. They are facilitated with the carrier protein, and glucose which are facilitated with some protein to get diffused through the bloodstream into the blood vessels and limbs are transported through facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion means that there is something that is supporting the substance to travel or to be transported. And transport of water, it depends upon the osmotic gradient. So the transportation of water is through osmotic gradient or osmosis. It is the absorption of water which is mainly occurring in large intestine. So water absorption is mainly occurring in large intestine, but most of the food absorption, around 90%, we can say that it is getting absorbed in the small intestine, and water is getting absorbed in large intestine. Next is active transport across the concentration gradient and hence require energy. Now in case of active transport, what is happening? They are very rapid than diffusion. First thing, you have to make it very clear that they are very rapid and they can flow the absorbable food into its opposite direction, right? So when something is moving in its opposite direction, it requires energy, and that energy is in the form of ATP. In case of fatty acids and glycerol, being insoluble, they cannot be absorbed into the blood. They are first incorporated into small droplets that are known as micelles, which moves into the intestinal mucosa. They are reformed into very small protein-coated fats, globules, and they are known as chylomicrons, which are transported to the lymph vessels lacteal in the villi. Now, what is happening here? We know that fatty acids and glycerols, they are very insoluble, and to make it soluble or water soluble, it is binded with the bile salts and phospholipids. Now, binding with bile salts and phospholipids, what it will do, it will make it water soluble molecule, which is known as micelles. Now, from micelles, the fatty acids and their soluble vitamins are actively absorbed into intestinal cells, and the fat coated with cholesterol and protein, they are known as chylomicrons. So chylomicrons, what are they? They are the fats which are coated with cholesterols and protein. Now these chylomicrons are water soluble and now they can be transported into blood and lymph through the lacteals. Now lacteal, we had already discussed that they are absorbable, or they are absorbing soluble fats and vitamins. So the lymph vessels ultimately releases the absorbed substances into the bloodstream. So now the absorption of substances take place in different parts of alimentary canal. We know, like mouth, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. So these are the parts of alimentary canal where the absorption of food is taking place. But 90% of food absorption is taking place within the small intestine, and around 90% we can say the absorption of water is taking place in large intestine. So food absorption mainly in small intestine, and water absorption in large intestine. So we can see this table where the summary absorption in different parts of digestive system are shown. That in mouth, certain drugs coming in contact with the mucus of mouth, lower side of the tongue, are absorbed into the blood capillary lining them. Next is stomach, the absorption of water, simple sugars, alcohol, etc. These absorption are taking place within the stomach. Small intestine, this is the principal organ which we had discussed, and absorption of water, some minerals, drugs, and it takes place over here. Now these absorbed food is finally reaching to the tissues which utilize them for their activities, and they will provide us energy. This process is known as assimilation. Now assimilation is the process which is helping in the transportation of absorbed food into the blood streams through lymph vessels. Now the digestive wastes which are solidified into coherent feces in the rectum initiate a neural reflex, causing an urge or desire for its removal. So the elimination of now waste product is passing through the rectum, and or through anus it is moving out. So this process of egestion of feces to the outside through the anal opening is known as defecation. So this terminology is again very important, which is known as egestion of feces. Is a voluntary process. So it is a voluntary process and it is carried out by a mass peristaltic movement. So here also the peristaltic movement is taking place, which we had already discussed that what this peristalsis movement is. Now next we will see about the disorders of digestive system. So the inflammation of the intestinal tract is the common ailment due to bacterial and viral infections. So if there will be some bacterial or or viral infections, we will feel inflammations or allergic, and these infections may be caused due to some parasites as well, such as hookworm, pinworm, tapeworm, tapeworm, roundworm, threadworms. Next is jaundice. So liver is affected in this case, and skin and eyes turns yellow due to deposition of bile pigments. Now, vomiting. It is the ejections of stomach content through the mouth. This reflex action is controlled by the vomit center in the medulla. So the vomit centers are present within medulla. Remember this thing. A feeling of nausea precedes vomiting. Next is diarrhea. So the abnormal frequency of bowel movement and increased liquidity of the fecal discharge is known as diarrhea. It reduces the absorption of food. So dehydration is also a case of diarrhea where it also reduces the absorption of food and water. Constipation, the feces are retained within the colon as the bowel movement occurs irregularly. Next is indigestion. So indigestion, in this condition the food is not properly digested and it is leading to the feeling of fullness. The cause of indigestions are inadequate, they are not proper enzyme secretion. When if there is no proper enzyme secretion, anxiety, some stress condition, food poisoning, overeating, spicy food. So these are all the things which will cause indigestion. Next is PAM. Now the another type of disorder which I will discuss here is PEM, which is known as protein energy malnutrition. Now what happens in this, it is basically a dietary deficiency of protein, and total food calories are widespread in many underdeveloped countries of South and Southeast Asia, South America and West and Central Africa. Now here we are going to discuss two important protein malnutrition diseases or the diseases that are occurring through protein deficiency. One is marasmus and another one is kwashiorkor. So we can see here that this is marasmus and here it is kwashiorkor. So both are the protein deficient diet. Now in case of marasmus, what is happening is produced by the simultaneously deficiency of protein. Now if there will be a deficiency of protein and calories as well, it is found in infant less than a year in age. The infant which has to be or which is to be fed with the mother milk, if they are replaced too early by some other supplement or food, they may not be able to get proteins and other components which are required for the infant. So in that case, this marasmus will happen. This often happens if the mother has second pregnancy or childbirth when the older infant is still too young. In marasmus, protein deficiency shows impaired growth and replacement of tissues, protein extreme emaciation of the body and thinning of limb results. So the symptoms of marasmus are like there will be less body weight, there will be degradation in the skins, muscles and bone, the retarded physical and mental growth of the infant, and the ribs will be in bulge form. Next, we will see that kwashiorkor is produced by protein deficiency unaccompanied by caloric deficiency. It results from the replacement of mother milk by high caloric, low protein diet. Now kwashiorkor, you have to remember that it is a high caloric diet but low protein. So the protein amount which is required for the infant or child is very less, but they are giving a very high caloric diet. So like marasmus, kwashiorkor also show wasting of muscles, thinning of limb, failure of growth and brain development or brain growth retardation. But unlike marasmus, some fat is still left under the skins. Moreover, extensive edema and swelling of body parts are seen. So edema is a case or it is also known as swelling, and it is seen that there is an accumulation of water in the face tissues of face and feet. So This is all about digestion and absorption. I hope I made myself clear. So if you have any doubt, you can write it in the comment section. Give your feedback and please like, share, subscribe to the channel as well. So stay connected because I'm going to discuss another human physiology topics in my coming videos. So stay tuned and thank you for watching.